I thought genuinely at the age of 21, 22, my career was over. I wouldn't be able to get a job again because I got sacked, and it was terrible. I knew that I could do it, and I knew that I could hopefully do it quite well and just help people. That's all I've wanted to do ever. It's more than just social selling. It's more than just enablement of C-level and execs and stuff like that. It's more than just enabling sales. It's a company that is, the premise of it is to give back and to help people that society often overlook, and that are people that have come up from dodgy backgrounds, but also people that have been in prison. So that's the reason for Past is Past. Is don't let your past define your future. I just think there should be more opportunity, and I genuinely believe where there's more opportunity, you're going to have less reoffending, and you're going to give, without sounding really, really cliche, and I'm sure this is probably copyrighted by someone, but giving hope to the hopeless, and ultimately that's what Past is Past is all about. If you look at a company that has 10,000 followers, for example, and then you have the same company that has, let's say, 10,000 employees, right? Those employees have 500 connections each. And if you think about reach and influence, that employee base that you've got is far more lucrative than sharing a couple of posts on your LinkedIn page and making 2 or 3 people like it or comment. Not saying it's arrogant, because I really don't think of myself as an arrogant person, but I do think that mentality has kind of altered my way of thinking, which is great now that I've realised it. But back then when I was kind of sitting there thinking, they're all coming to me. It's just not the right way of thinking it. And actually, it's a good learning curve, right? Because this is what business is all about. It's all about learning. I was actually going to wrap Past is Past up. I was genuinely thinking about it over the last few days. I was thinking to myself, shall I park it, try and get myself out this little hole that I'm in so I can allow myself to then focus? But then I thought, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to graft as much as I need to. 18, 19, 20 hours a day, doesn't matter, right? But I'm not going to allow the naysayers to be correct.
On this episode of the Pocket Mastermind podcast, we speak to social sales expert Lewi Watkins. Lewi talks to us about the important role that social selling plays in any organisation, and he also shares candidly his experience of starting and running a business while supporting a young family. If you'd like to find out more about Lewi, you can find him online at pastispast.co.uk or linkedin.com/the social sales chap. Welcome, Lewi Watkins, founder of Past is Past and first ever guest on the Pocket Mastermind podcast.
Lovely. Cheers, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Cheers for coming on, mate.
Cheers, Steve.
So I think the best way for us to start this is let's rewind back to leaving school, careers up to this point now of Past is Past, and how you ended up in this particular career. So if you give us a snapshot of leaving school, careers, and then where we are now.
Gotcha. All right, mate. So like with any school kid, I was gobby. But I had some smarts there as well. So I decided to go and do A-levels with the intention of going to uni to get my doctorate in medicine, because I love medicine, still love medicine now.
It makes us better, doesn't it?
That's it, mate. Exactly, yeah. I love it.
There's no flies on him.
Can you turn his mic down? And I then, once I'd kind of finished my A-levels, 3 years, so obviously usually it's 2 years, I lost a best friend in the end of my first year of doing A-levels, and that kind of put a stop to everything. So I decided, well, I'm just going to not focus on that. And when I say close to it, 3 days before my exam started, he was killed in a hit and run. So I then decided I was going to retake the year, which I did. I finished my A-levels, and once I'd finished, I thought to myself, I'm going to take some time out. Don't want to go straight into uni now, especially to do a doctorate or anything like that, because of how long it takes. It transpires that I wasn't as intelligent as I thought, and my A levels wouldn't have got me there anyway. Actually, to be fair, it's not all bad. But I still don't get me wrong. I still love medicine now. But I certainly don't regret not doing it. I don't regret anything in my life. And then so I landed a job actually working in medical devices and equipment, anaesthesia and medical gas, and really enjoyed it because I really found it quite interesting. I subsequently left that job after 3 years. I got sacked from it.
You got sacked, yeah.
I did indeed, mate. Yeah.
For what?
For being on the internet too much.
Oh wow.
Nothing promiscuous or anything like that. And ironically, actually, one of the sites that came up most was Twitter.
Okay.
So it's, I you know, at the end of the day,
in the early days, right?
Yeah, right. Very early days.
Yeah, really.
To the point where celebs, in speech marks, would actually reply to you if you tweeted them. Yeah. So I actually did converse with, back in the day, some quite significant people of that time. It was about 12 years ago.
Steady doing your job.
10, 12 years ago. Exactly that. Jordan being one of them.
Oh, nice, yeah. Decent, yeah. She blocked me, actually. Oh, did she? Yeah, I can't remember why, but yeah.
I was well chuffed for that. Not so much after the effects of being on Twitter too much, but I took some time out of the kind of corporate world. You know, I was only 3 years in, but I was kind of like, I need to...
Burned out.
Decide what I want to do.
Executive stress, yeah.
It was the worst thing I'd experienced in terms of my corporate kind of life, and you know, I thought genuinely at the age of 21, 22, my career was over. I wouldn't be able to get a job again because I got sacked, and you know, it was terrible, right? I look back and laugh now.
Yeah.
Do you think you might have overreacted just a little bit?
Yeah, probably. I sat in my car just like, what have I done?
Did your parents hammer that home as well?
No, actually, to be honest with you, they were more miffed at the company.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway,
should be allowed that sort of thing, shouldn't it?
Different conversation.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that one.
Right. Anyhow, so I must tip my hat to my parents. Actually, they've been very supportive of all the things that I've not all of the decisions I made, but most of the decisions I made. Anyway, took some time out. I worked a floor lane, some groundwork as well. And actually, when I was working with one of the groundwork companies, I ended up having a conversation with one of the oldest of the 4 generations that worked for this company. He said quite candidly, you know, you should really be using your gift to talk to people and putting that somewhere else and not here. And I thought, actually, yeah, you know what, I'll do that. So then I landed a temp role for a company that was very well known back in the day in schools and so on. They built a lot of computer equipment for schools, a company called RM. And I loved it, actually, to be honest with you. It put me right in front of the people that I would eventually start working with in the future. I got to go to sites. I got to go and make sure that stuff was being delivered. If anything was going wrong, people come to me to resolve it. So problem resolution and stuff like that was a big part of that role. And then I realised, actually, sales is where I want to go.
Yep.
An opportunity came up at a business that, ironically, I only wanted to work with because it was the building that I was really interested in. It was a company called Sophos, and that's where really my kind of love of tech really came into effect. And left Sophos, went to WebSense, one of their competitors. First time and only time I've ever put on garden leave, which was awesome, to be honest with you, for 2 weeks. And then the next week was brutal. The next couple of weeks were brutal because I just got bored. I'm the kind of person that constantly needs to be busy. Yeah. And that might explain why I've got kids so close together and a wife and a house and all that within the space of 2 years.
You're definitely busy now.
and then from WebSense, I went to Microsoft in a sales orientated role as a solution specialist, selling into typically around about 5,000 employee companies, desktop and devices. And in that time there, I'd already used social media to kind of help me with my jobs. You know, when I was in WebSense, I was in sales, so I was using it because I was finding people on social that I want to converse with. So I was able to connect with them rather than just constantly trying to pick up the phone and email and stuff like that, because we know how successful email is, especially these days. And I was working with a lady on the whole social selling front, and she said, you know, would you ever be interested in this? And it was like, absolutely, I'd love to do this, kind of helping salespeople do more and be better. And fast forward a couple of months, an opportunity came up. So she contacted me and said, are you interested in doing this? And lo and behold, it was actually her going off on maternity leave that opened up the role. a lady called Steph Mills, who I still keep in contact with now. And I said it before, I'll say it again. She is the reason why I do social selling and why I'm in this game now. Mm-hmm. Because I was in sales, I was kind of looking at it objectively, which I think was really helpful for the marketing function, because they had someone from sales trying to support sales, but funded by marketing. Yeah. Whereas previously it was kind of really led by marketing and supported by marketing. So I suggested a few changes, and I was told, well, basically, if you want to do that, then own it, and be on you if it doesn't work. But long story short, grew the program successfully in the UK. We were seen as the leaders in it globally for Microsoft. Worked with EMEA and some countries around EMEA to help them develop their programs in South America, and worked very closely with the US. Once LinkedIn were acquired by Microsoft, I then felt that actually my job to try and advocate LinkedIn into the sellers in Microsoft was not really as poignant as it was previously, because now it was almost like an expectation.
Right.
Yeah.
And because of that, I then started to look for other opportunities. I then moved to a company called Sage, an accounting software company, and I was only there for 7 months. I led the global kind of social selling strategy. From there, I went to a company called Rackspace, who are like a pro services company. They manage kind of data centers on behalf of people, but they're big in the cloud. They offer the services around Amazon, Google, and AWS. And I kind of had a few different roles in there. So I managed a team of business development guys, doubled it in size. I looked after it for a year for maternity cover again. I also did the social selling thing around the sales floor. And I also then worked with leadership in leadership enablement, basically, to make them more social and more accessible to internal people as well as external people on a social media front. And I think that was the catalyst then to actually help me decide that I want to do something separate to companies and do my own thing and help multiple companies rather than just one. I knew that I could do it, and I knew that I could hopefully do it quite well and just help people. That's all I've wanted to do ever. Past is Past, which is the company now that I've kind of kickstarted. It's more than just social selling. It's more than just enablement of C-level and execs and stuff like that. It's more than just enabling sales. It's a company that is, the premise of it is to give back and to help people that society often overlook, and that are people that have come up from dodgy backgrounds, but also people that have been in prison. So that's the reason for Past is Past. It's don't let your past define your future. Back in 2013, I was in London, and unfortunately I met 6 of London's finest youths, and they decided to take my phone and my wallet off of me. Which, to be honest with you, I wasn't overly fussed with. They could have probably done it without the knife. I probably would have appreciated that a little bit more. But I think that started...
You might not have given to them without the knife.
Yeah, I was like, I would have just chinned them. I said, I think that started a bit of a fire in my belly in a really weird way. And that was that it's a shame that people feel that in order to make some money, they need to do things like that. So that's the reason for it. So although I do digital selling, social selling, whatever you want to call it, and exec engagement and what have you, and employee advocacy, the reason why I'm doing it is to create an opportunity to be able to work with ex-offenders, people that are still in prison, that are kind of on their way to being released, because I think that a lot of people should be afforded the opportunity to not have to go down one particular route because of their past. I do believe that the world of sales and marketing especially is ripe for having people that have been in prison and stuff like that given an opportunity to be able to fall into there, rather than just kind of down the usual route of being in a trade or what have you. And there's nothing against the trade. I just think there should be more opportunity, and I genuinely believe where there's more opportunity, you're going to have less reoffending, and you're going to give, without sounding really, really cliche, and I'm sure this is probably copyrighted by someone, but giving hope to the hopeless. And ultimately, that's what Past is all about. Long way off of it.
If there is anyone in the prison system that's listening to this, give me a shout. Careful.
Yeah, actually, well, not in the actual system.
Don't
Don't use your one phone call a day.
Exactly, yeah. But no, you know, like governors and stuff like that. You know, I'd love to be a part of that kind of stuff. And
So sorry, I was going to say it's probably a good opportunity to give us an idiot's guide to what social selling is, so that we understand. And then obviously, if anyone who is listening who's interested in getting in contact, it might make some sense.
But yeah, so social selling. I don't like the term social selling. I think it's been and gone now. It's dated. You're not selling. Mm-hmm. You're creating, without sounding really cliche again, relationships, right, with people that you ultimately want them to buy your solutions and stuff like that. Yeah. But you can do that very easily without selling, and that is by becoming a trusted advisor, the go-to person that these people can speak to because they know that you know what you're talking about. You know, I've worked with many great salespeople in the past that are just phenomenal when it comes to their understanding of different technologies and stuff like that. And those are the people that really should be doing articles and stuff like that and talking about the enablement of the product. So that's what social selling is. It's about creating a brand and a presence online that people come to know and trust. It's moving now away from social selling. It's more digital selling now. But still, it's the selling thing that kind of, because you're not. You talk, and then the theory is that people see that you know what you're talking about, and they come to you and have a chat to you. It doesn't replace cold calling or email or anything like that. A lot of people will say it. That's utter rubbish. My opinion, obviously. And then obviously the byproducts of that is the exec engagement piece, sales enablement. You know, the worst thing that anyone can do is try and help people be more social when they're not doing it themselves, or they've never done it before, or they've never been told how to do it. Because then what you start to get are people that send multiple messages on LinkedIn, Twitter, and DMs and stuff like that, saying the same crappy sales message over and over again, and wondering why they're not getting any responses or anything like that. And that's because they've been taught differently, or incorrectly. Actually, I'm gonna go on record and say that it's the wrong way to teach people to be sales and stuff like that. I think also there's a big part of it. Employee advocacy is a massive part of social selling, or digital selling. So when you start to create a presence online, you then become an advocate or seen as an advocate of the business. So the business is in essence getting free marketing. You might not actually be talking about the product that they're selling, but just having your face and your association to that brand is strong. And that's what I try and help companies understand. So not just the people, but the businesses understand that if you use your employees' network to encourage them to talk about what they think and so on and so forth from a personal perspective on things, as long as it's legit and okay.
And utilising the employees then to ultimately share content that may be generated by a central social account.
Yeah, you know, so a lot of employee advocacy tools, for example, are classed as like a repository for business related content. Yeah. So your companies, your marketing organisations can feed all the great content that they're doing into there, and then you encourage your employees to share that content, but justify why they're sharing it. You know, explain why you think this post about productivity is good. You know, because puts in your opinion on something. It can still be corporate information, but putting your opinion on something separates it from the stuff that's being pushed out by the company's channels. And then if you think about the whole concept of LinkedIn and social media in essence in terms of the cascade effect, where someone likes your post, it then becomes visible in their newsfeed, and then it might encourage other people to interact with that post and so on and so forth. If you look at a company that has 10,000 followers, for example, and then you have the same company that has, let's say, 10,000 employees, right? Those employees have 500 connections each, right? And if you think about reach and influence, that employee base that you've got is far more lucrative than sharing a couple of posts on your LinkedIn page and making 2 or 3 people like it or comment on it. So why companies aren't doing it more, I don't know. It's great for me because it gives me opportunities to work with them. And the great thing is it's not just the case of it opens doors for the company. It also opens up opportunities for the people that I work with as well. And again, we'll go back to that whole thing about helping people. You genuinely see people transform when they look at this and they're focused on it and they do it properly. You know, it's all about small wins. because you don't click your fingers and you get multiple opportunities coming through your door just because you update your headline on LinkedIn or you change your Twitter bio. It takes effort and it takes graft, which is why I don't like masterclasses and stuff like that, because you're promising something that genuinely will not result.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And also a big part of it is not about scripts or anything like that. Be yourself. Make sure that every time you communicate with someone, it's for them, not just a mass message and stuff like that, because we all know that scripts don't work. It's just doesn't work on emails. Why would it work anywhere else? So, yeah.
So how have you found winning new business to do this with?
I've been quite fortunate in the sense of I have got a good customer base,
right.
Not customer base, but prospect base on LinkedIn. Everything I do is through LinkedIn because obviously I've got to practice what I preach, right? I've got a good network of people that have moved about in companies, have had exposure to me, so they know what I might have done in sales versus what I've done in the whole socials thing. So the opportunities have come to me thus far, because of word of mouth and stuff like that, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah.
But bad as well, because it's made me a little bit lazy, expecting that it's going to come my way. Not saying it's arrogant, because I really don't think of myself as an arrogant person, but I do think that mentality has kind of altered my way of thinking, which is great now that I've realised it. But back then when I was kind of sitting there thinking, they're all coming to me, it's just not the right way of thinking it. And actually, it's a good learning curve, right? Because this is what business is all about. It's all about learning. I wouldn't say it's a failure. I don't class anything like that as a failure, but it's certainly something that if I was to continue doing what I was doing, then I would quite deservedly, be in a really bad position whereby, I'll wrap things up, which hopefully won't happen.
How long does a win last for? So you get a company on board. What's the typical sort of duration?
I was going to say, talk me through. I've got a business.
Yep.
Is there a size of business where it becomes it's not really worthwhile, or is it worthwhile for the one man band?
It's worthwhile for anyone who genuinely wants to be better and do better on social. The one thing that I try and explain to people is whether we like it or not, we need to go digital, right? There's a saying, I can't remember who it's by, but it says it's not a case of when we go digital, it's how well we do it. And that's so poignant, right? And it's so relevant. So whether you're a one-man band or a one-lady band, got to be PC and all that. So whether you're either one of those all the way through to a 50,000 employee company, everyone should be doing it, or at least encouraged to do it. And it's not just sales, right? It's everyone in the business. Support, HR, finance, everyone should have a presence. Because one, it makes you aware of a brand if there's more people within that brand talking about things. It doesn't just have to be about the company. Talk about experience and stuff like that. But also, in terms of one's career prospects and stuff like that, having a presence makes you more accessible to people as well. So there's a byproduct of talking about what you think, and that is attracting the right kind of people.
So that takes us on nicely to where you are now and your experiences with starting the business. Talk us through the highs and the lows that you've had in setting up Past Is Past, and maybe kick off with some of the challenges, some of the things you didn't see coming, that kind of thing to begin with.
So absolutely, we'll start with the lows first and end on the highs and all that stuff. I have got a lot of personal debt. So one of the things that I didn't take into account was how much I relied on a salary, and the kind of the worry that comes with that when you don't have that salary coming in at the end of the month, and that safety net, and you have to make sure that you've got the pipeline there, and you've got the opportunities and the conversations happening. I suppose I left with no real kind of way of paying for things either. I didn't have any money in the side or anything like that. So I have had to, in essence, increase my personal debt in order to get all the tech and all that stuff that I need in order to actually do a job. And it's amazing how quickly all that stuff adds up. Flight here, train there, your new laptop, subscriptions, and all of that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden you're looking at like 7 months in.
And everything's a subscription these days, right?
and you've already spent $5,000 in the business, and that's already gone on your credit cards and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, oh, geez, no way of really seeing how you're going to be able to recoup that. Which leads really nicely actually then into when you set up a limited company and you're paying yourself a salary and all that stuff, you have to do everything. You know, you have to do the accounts, payroll, if you don't have an accountant like I don't, website management, SEO, don't even get me started on SEO, search engine optimization for any of you that are interested, I don't know what it is. You know, that I haven't even touched on. I've thought about it, but I'm not going to even bother. Not for a good while, yeah. Maybe when past the premise of the business, the actual background of it, when that maybe kicks off, that's when maybe I'll look into that properly. But at the moment, no. And little things like that mount up. They look small, but when you get loads of them together, they then become quite a headache. So that's been tough. That's been tough to deal with. The constant worry, actually. I don't care what anyone says. It is a constant worry. You know, when you're associated to your own brand, you're worried about saying the wrong things, worried about doing the wrong things. There's all the concern that you're doing everything correctly as well. You know, with old Mr. Taxman, it's unforgiving. You know, doesn't matter how junior or how old you are in business, you do something wrong, it comes down on you a ton of bricks, like a ton of bricks. Sorry. So there's always that worry as well. That you're doing everything right and by the book. I want an honest business. I'm not the kind of person that would swindle something here just to kind of give me a bit of rest or something, or a break or something. You know, at the end of the day, I make the rod, whatever that saying is.
Rod for your own back.
Rod for my own back. That's the one. You know, I gotta make sure that I'm doing everything above board. And again, that money is associated to that. So that's been a challenge. Money. That's always the problem. Right?
Root of all evil.
It is. It really is. And actually, you see people change as well in their opinion of you or the way that they interact with you. And I don't know whether it's a jealousy thing or what. I had at my last company, the CTO, top bloke. I explained to him what I was doing when he heard that I was leaving, and he was just brilliant. He was so kind of like encouraging. He was like, "You can do this, mate. You can do this. You know what you're doing. Keep me in the loop. Keep me in contact." And then someone else who wasn't in the company, but someone that I used to work with, I mentioned to them what I was doing, and they were like, "Why would you do that? You're just setting yourself up for a fail."
It's because they'd fail.
Yeah, right, exactly that.
That's why.
Exactly. So that kind of made me even more determined. You know, give the bloke a middle finger and be like, "Well, suck on this," right?
Watch.
Yeah, exactly. Watch me. And you know, because of all of that, also another thing, when you're not well, and when I'm not saying a cold.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you the sub story, but last couple of months I've been hammered by different viruses, right?
Yeah.
So much so that dragging myself out of bed is the worst thing I could have possibly done. I have to do it because I've got kids. It's a young family, so I need to support my wife and I need to look after my kids. The last thing I want to do is open up a screen and look at a screen for a whole day. But I'm not afforded the opportunity of having sick pay or anything like that.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? So I need to stay well clear of any of that stuff. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes you just can't help it. You do become unwell. So there's that, and then ultimately, I was actually going to pass this up. I was genuinely thinking about it over the last few days. I was thinking to myself, shall I park it, try and get myself out this little hole that I'm in, so I can allow myself to then focus? But then I thought, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm a graft as much as I need to, 18, 19, 20 hours a day, doesn't matter, right? But I'm not going to allow the naysayers to be correct. I really, actually, to be honest with you, I don't care. I don't care what people think. You know, at the end of the day, I'm doing this for me and my family. I want to leave a legacy. I want to be mortgage free. So then if I do pop my clogs, when I do pop my clogs in the future, I'll leave my kids with something. Yeah. You know, not just the house, but a business. You know, if my kids wanted to be a part of that business, fantastic. If they didn't, well, not a problem, you know.
I think what's important to remember is that it's really hard. What you're doing is really hard. And you're going to experience some serious lows. But if you did park it to come back to it another day, it would still be just as hard. Yeah, the second time around and the third time around. So you might as well properly dig in now and do the hard work now, rather than come back to it and have this same problem.
Yeah. And if you read Think and Grow Rich, you'll strike your mind back to the story of stopping 3 feet from gold, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And
that
rings in my head every time I think about quitting something now.
Yeah.
And that really comes quite nicely into the highs of the business, right? So if you look at it from I'm not going to talk about the monetary side of things because that is something I don't want to focus on.
Yeah.
As long as I've got a roof over my head, I can afford to feed my kids.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for that reason. I don't care about having a Lamborghini.
Yeah. Well, that's success, isn't
or
it?
a 10-bedroom house and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I did a post on LinkedIn that was, I often look at other people's success and then realise actually some of my failures, and people are like, well, it's your interpretation of success and so on, which was put out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually ended up deleting that post because I think a few people were a little bit worried by it. Didn't mean it in the way that it might have come across.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if we talk about, people looking at what you're talking about, people do see it, right? I know that you commented as well, right? Which I appreciated. So from that side of things, of course, so far I've been able to keep the roof over my head, or our head. I don't think I'll ever get into a position because of my brilliant support network that would ever happen. I wouldn't want there ever to be a conversation though, for that to take place.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that. I'm a man of faith. I love my faith, so I'm very thankful, and I thank regularly the opportunities that I'm given. And then from that, this opportunity has afforded me to open up conversations and connect with people that I would never have done previously. Look at you two, we're family. Right? And if it wasn't for this, it would be another 10 years until we probably see each other. It'll probably be a funeral that we see each other at, right? So,
well, we missed your wedding, didn't we?
Yeah, the less we talk about that, the better. But yeah, touche. Well, exactly. I should cut my mouth shut there. But yeah, so from that side of things, it's I lost my train of thought now. But yeah, so from that kind of thing, it's allowed me to speak to people and have the confidence to speak to people. If you think about a sales role, when you're going after a certain group of clientele, you're always going to be going after them. You're never really given the opportunity to widen that conversation. Whereas I can open up conversations with C-level of any variety, VPs, directors, sales, marketing, HR, finance, support, services, everyone. I'm not locked down to one particular thing or person because what I do is applicable to everyone in a business, right? Yeah. And lastly, the biggest thing for me is the personal aspect. And I don't mean being able to talk about the fact that I've got my own business or anything like that. That I don't care about. I don't care about bragging and all of that stuff. But what I do care about is waking up in the morning and being able to get my son up.
Yeah.
Helping my wife feed the boy while she's breastfeeding the girl.
Yeah.
The boy's 15 months, the girl's only 15 weeks. And that has been the biggest thing by far. It's challenging for my wife and I. We're living on top of each other, right? I work at home, then I live at home.
Yeah.
And there's that element of things. So if you're thinking about setting up your own home office, remember that you're going to be in your partner's face all the time, right?
Put a lock on the door.
Funny it was that easy, right? So there's that element as well. But I've got plans to remediate that, and that will be when I'm in a position to do so. I'm lucky. I've got quite a large garage. So I'm going to separate some of that garage out, and I'm going to have a little office separate to the house where I can literally just lock myself in there and think. But certainly from a personal aspect, that has just been the winner. For a long time I was commuting back and forth to London. When my son was born, leaving at 6 a.m, getting home at 7 p.m. I was only seeing him on the weekends, and it got to a point when I was like, I do not want that to happen with my daughter. So that's kind of a very small reason why I decided to do Pastors Past, to kind of set up my own independent thing. So that absolutely, and also the opportunity not just to be able to talk to business decision makers and all of that, but also people in the same boat, people that are thinking about it, people that have just done it. Being a mentor for likes of a better way of describing it, not in the sense that I can offer a financial mentorship or anything like that, but if people come up to me with questions, I've got no issues with answering them. Might be wrong, might be right, depends how they want to interpret it. And then that has then meant, which quite nicely leads into the fact that I have been able to speak to people and have mentors now who are phenomenal in the world of social media.
Who are your
business.
mentors? Do you want to shout anyone out who's helping you?
Adam Gray and Tim Hughes. They are, if you think about social selling, Tim is probably the person who actually coined the idea, to be fair. He's wrote a number of books and stuff like that. He set up a company called DLA Ignite, of which I'm an associate of, with Adam and a guy called Alex. They're just brilliant people, full of knowledge, full of great stuff, good content. I listen to what they say. And then actually, to be fair, and it's going to sound really, really kind of like, kind of thing. But that's a sick sound for anyone that's interested. But my mum and dad, I gave a nod to them earlier on. But genuinely, my mum's a finance director. So she's actually been able to guide me down certain things. Mm-hmm. She's very much a person that won't give me the help. If I demand it, but if I genuinely ask for it because I do need the help, she'll certainly help me. And my dad, he looks at him like he's only a painter and decorator, right? But he's more than that. Mm-hmm. He's had a a tough old life and all of that stuff. And there's a lot that I can learn from him in terms of kind of just being strong in mind, to continue doing these things. So yeah, I think it's certainly them as well. A lot of people probably say that, to be fair, but yeah.
And that's at the core of what we're trying to do here, right? Is the whole mentorship, the mastermindship in inverted commas, that kind of stuff, is bringing people together, because I think everybody has some level of skill or experience or knowledge that can be shared. And everyone's experienced this when you're trying to work through a problem. If you're trying to do it on your own, you get stumped, and then suddenly you get more people in a room, and suddenly the power increases, and suddenly ideas, when everyone gets in tune, ideas come out. So I think it's great, to talk about that side of things, and really, if anyone's out there that's looking for some support that Lewi could offer, or we can offer, then it's all part of this thing. What would be your top tips for anyone who's thinking to do what you're doing? 2 or 3 key things just to bear in mind before getting going.
Don't rest on money as success, unless you're in the stock markets and stuff like that. Then naturally you need it. But yeah, so definitely don't focus on that. Give yourself time. I didn't give myself time. I expected to be turning over however much a year, kind of thing, and all of that stuff in my first 3 months of trading. But certainly don't try and outpace yourself and your capabilities, and learn. Constructive feedback, constructive criticisms. If people are telling you these things, it's because they're telling you for a reason. Don't get defensive. Don't get your back up that people are saying something that you might not agree with. Take it, learn from it, and use it. Use it to your own advantage. And lastly, enjoy it. I know I've obviously talked about some of the stresses and stuff like that. Yeah. But of course the stresses are there, but they are just nothing when I think about the joy that I get from the work that I do, with the people that I do, with the companies that I do, which then offers me the chance to be a better husband, better father, and that for me is everything in my life. And yeah, so absolutely, those 4 things are paramount. People probably say more than that, but for me, on a personal level, those are what I care about. And actually, I just want to add in there, doing. Mm-hmm. Don't just say you're going to do it. Do it. Yeah. Might sound a bit odd when I say that I've got personal debt and all that stuff, and I just dropped everything and did it. But Steve, you alluded to it, that if I park this now and came back to it, I still have the same issues. Yeah. The same thing would be is if I carried on saying, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I wouldn't end up doing it. So if you're going to commit to something, commit to it 100% and just go for it.
Good man. So I think we're almost done. But how do people find you, mate?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, naturally. LinkedIn Lewi is what I used to get called back in the day. So you can find me at linkedin.com/the social sales chap, all one word. Highly recommend you sorting out your personal LinkedIn URLs. If you want some information about that, just get in contact. All my contact details, actually, to be fair, are on my LinkedIn profile. If you can't search by the social sales chat thing, just look out for Lewi Watkins. Lewi Watkins will show up. Lewi, not the Louis and all of that kind of stuff. I'll come up. And also, if you search for social selling and things like that, usually those buzzwords bring me up in the profile results. So that's how you can get in contact with me. And
we'll also make sure we put a link to Pass This Pass and to your profile via our website as well.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Louis, you've got a considerable pair of bollocks on you to go into business with a new baby on the way and debt.
Yep.
But you're making it work, mate. So
I've got the kids already. There's not going to be a third.
No. But when you started this 7 months ago,
corking it now.
Oh, actually, yeah, no, that fair point, mate.
Yeah.
That is actually, I didn't think about that.
So
that kind of gives you an
idea. But you're making it work, mate.
Is.
So it's very impressive. But stick with it and keep going. It will be hard, but hopefully we can create a bigger support network for you through this as well. So
likewise, as well, I'm a big advocate of what you guys are wanting to do. I think giving a voice to people who are new in this journey and stuff like that is instrumental in helping them succeed and helping you guys succeed. And I don't think enough companies are doing it. There are not enough people that are wanting to give a voice to the minnows, so to speak. It's all about clout, right? And it's nice to be able to contribute to something that is all about actually just trying to help people. So yeah,
good man.
But thank you for the opportunity.
Cheers,
amazing,
mate.
And thank you for being our first ever guest.
Nice one. Cheers, Dave. Cheers, Steve.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Spot on.
Huge thank you to Louis there for being the first ever guest on the Pocket Mastermind podcast. And as I said before, if you want to get hold of Louis, you can find him online at passthispass.co.uk or linkedin.com, the social sales chat. You can also find us online at pocketmastermind.com or on all of the major social media channels at Pocket Mastermind. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you'd follow, like and share and help us spread the word. Until the next episode, thank you.